Hey, this is Glendon Cameron with session 3 of Creating Your Own Economy, Nursing Your Creativity. This session will be brought to you in podcast form so you can listen and learn. I'm doing this one a little differently because I had one session all mapped out. And it was like 30 tabs on Chrome with all these websites. And then I went for a walk and I said, how did you become creative? What is it, that thing in you, and how do you continue to nurse it? Because being creative helped me in the storage auction business. It helped me in the office furniture business. It helped me in virtually every job that I've had. Even in the military, being creative. And I was like, okay, what happened? As a kid, I used to love to draw, read comic books, copy the superheroes. I'll tell you a little nasty story, and my brother actually tried to get me in trouble. If you remember, there was this show, Wonder Woman, and there was this copy of her there was this image of her on TV Guide. And I was so captivated because my little hormones were kicking that I drew it, and I drew it very well, except she didn't have any clothes on. So my brother found the drawing and took the drawing and put it on the hood of my mother's car. He folded the top in and tucked it there. And my mother comes and gets me and she says, "What is this?" And I walk out and I see the drawing on the hood and I'm just like, oh, well, I drew it because that's how I saw her. And my mother said, okay, well, make sure your little brother doesn't find your other drawings. And that was the end of that. So I learned that I became good, because when I first started drawing, I wasn't that good. It was something that I just learned from the first grade to really started to kind of come in around the fourth or fifth grade. So the first step is you can learn to be creative. Because understand, there were people later on that thought I had innate natural talent for drawing, and it was just sitting with a pad, pencil, crayons, whatever, and just drawing in watercolors for hours and hours. So even if you think of yourself as not being creative, that is untrue. It is something that you can develop. So the first thing, and I'm patterning this after me because people are like, how did you become successful? And it really made me think, because I want to tell you it was a lot of hard work, which it was, but that wasn't being completely truthful, because I had to really figure out there were some other things that were part of it. And a big, big part of creating your own economy is being creative, clever, cunning, whatever you want to call it. And the thing is that helped me is draw. And I didn't really think that I still had any abilities until I was trying to have a logo made. I was trying to explain it because I was using Elance and we just were not connecting. So I drew what I wanted and took a picture of it and emailed it to him, and he instantly got it. And he says, "Oh, you draw very well." And I was like, it just looked like stick figures to me. But once again, that's me assuming that everyone else can do it, because when you have this ability that you don't think very highly of, you don't think it may be as special as it really is. So there are many of you out there who could probably be great artists if you put the time. And another thing that drawing will teach you is patience, because you rush a line, you have to erase it, or it's just not where you want it. But if you just take the time and be steady with it, and I think one of my best accomplishments, and I don't know if I could do it now without practice, but I was able to draw a circle. Now, if you don't draw, that's going to like, well, what's the big deal? Drawing a completely round circle is a trip. Speed helps. Speed helps a lot. I actually did it on a chalkboard, and I actually did it on a sheet of paper. But speed helps out tremendously, especially with the chalkboard. But draw and doodle. You do not have to become Michelangelo. This doesn't have to be worthy of hanging up in a gallery. This is to jumpstart or reignite your creative process, because when you draw, you have to think differently. You open up another sector of your mind. And I really have to go back to drawing as being one of the prime drivers of being successful, because I had problems with spatial abilities and perspective, meaning sometimes the hands would be grotesquely huge for the person, or their eyes would be off, or the nose would not fit. Because when you start drawing, all this stuff's got to fit together, or it's going to look really jacked up or grotesque. So I had to solve problems. I said, okay, what's going to be difficult? These hands. And I learned to work on the hard stuff first. Everyone has a different process. But draw, doodle, get a sheet of paper, a pencil, no markers. Pencil is best because you make mistakes, you can erase it. And just draw. Scribble. Draw in the margins. And it's something that I do when I am perfectly calm. If I was getting my car serviced and I was just doodling, and I looked down, I had all these little drawings on the sheet of paper because I was completely mindless. And then I came up with the Hustler Mindset Project that actually came from being in a service bay and letting my mind drift. Because, see, this is the thing that you have to understand about your creativity. When you are pressured, you're constricted, not just physically, but mentally. And with any type of constriction or confinement, nothing gets in, nothing gets out. Many of my best ideals have come to me when I wasn't thinking about it. They'll come to you in the shower. They'll come to you when you're walking. And why? Because you're preoccupied and your mind is open. You're not trying to think about something. You're not trying to think about something. You are, as they would say in meditation, just being. And that's when stuff oozes up. And understand, one really good creative ideal can make you rich. So the more you have, the better your chances are of getting the things you want. Maybe your goal isn't to be rich. Maybe your goal is just to be happy. Maybe your goal is just to be peaceful. You want to come home every day, kiss your wife, tickle your kids, and sit on the back porch and roast marshmallows. You can have what you want if you understand the opportunity cost trade-offs. But with drawing, it'll ignite something in you. And once again, take the restrictors off. Take the restrictor plates off. Doesn't have to be prize winning. This is for your creative process. You're not in a race. You're not trying to beat someone. You're just trying to be a better you. So take 10 minutes a day and try to draw some stuff. I don't care if it's flowers. I don't care if it's the pencil on your desk. I don't care if it's your computer screen. Or you can draw some targets. And, this is just a suggestion, not saying you have to, but you could draw targets of people that you really don't like and put them on a dartboard and watch your aim improve. Kind of funny how that happens. But take some time to ignite that creative process. This is something that totally blew my mind. Another way to enhance your creative process is to listen to Baroque classical music. It has been scientifically proven that listening to Baroque music will increase your IQ. When I write, I frequently listen to classical music or hip-hop music because this is something that happens. When I kind of get caught up in the writing and the music, things flow and I put out better work. It's kind of tapping into that creative vein. Listen to classical music, and this is a thing where it's not about taste, because I will say this: if you listen to enough classical music, you will find some that you really like. It may not be the Baroque music, but classical music is heavily based on math. There's a rhythm, there's precision, there's a lot in there that can help your creative process. And this isn't trying to be haughty-taughty or, going to the... No, this is opening your mind to something new. Because if you put on, one of my favorites is Patrick Bell's Canon. I love that song. I loved it from the first time that I've heard it. If you find these things, you can create states. You can create creative states if you find the right music. And it will take some experimentation, because what works for me may actually make you pull up your nose and say, no, I don't want to listen to that stuff, dude. And that's cool, but give it a shot. Classical music, And I know this is going to knock some people. I listen to country music. There's some country music that's freaking awesome. I'm not talking about the cut your wrist, the wife left me and she took my cow country music. I'm talking about early stuff written by Dolly Parton or Johnny Cash. If you listen to Johnny Cash's earlier works, it's just freaking awesome. It's mind-blowing in its complexity and simplicity, and it's very moving. So bring some music into your life, not the pop 100 or the commercialized formulated music that isn't really designed to help you be creative. There's a lot of ways you can listen. You have Pandora, you have Spotify, you have many websites where you can get all kind of music and you don't have to pay anything for it. So just say, 10 minutes a day, you're going to draw. Take another 10 minutes and listen to some classical music from start to finish. Turn your phone off. Don't watch television. Don't talk to anybody. Take 20 minutes to yourself if you have little kids or a wife and explain to them what's going on, because people tend to respond really different when it's a good reason why you're doing something that you didn't do before. Hey, honey, I am on this self-improvement program and I need to take 20 minutes a day and I need to be by myself and not disturbed because I'm doing this and this and this. So ultimately, I can be a better husband for you and make more money. Most wives are like, take your ass in the room and lock the door. I got the kids. Because they understand that you're doing this for a higher purpose and you're not in there watching porn, which could be a problem. But talk to people. Let them know what you're doing, especially your inner circle, because your behavior is going to change. You're going to start doing stuff. Because when you turn off the television, you turn on you. I've said it in so many videos. I have a very nice television, and I have only one. And it's really strange because I've learned that television is one of the greatest robbers of creativity, intellect, and time. It's great to watch a movie or to watch some of those shows. Just like you can have a little junk food for your body, you can have a little junk food for your mind. It's not going to kill you or be detrimental. But when it's a mainstay in your diet, it can ruin you. So turn the television off. And this is something else that will spawn your creativity. If you have a family, take a night, turn the television off, and talk to each other. I know, novel idea, right? You will have to actually think. You will have to. And this is the rule. No cell phones, no Twitter, no Instagram, no tweeting, no Facebook. Phones are in another room, because I've noticed phones have become commanders of the human condition. If you ever want to see someone freak out, hide their phone and watch what goes on. I did that recently and it was fun, because people feel untethered. They feel there was a test. There was a study done that people didn't use their phone for like 24 hours. And some folks literally freaked out because that is their conduit to their whole world. Unplug from that, and then you create your own world versus one that's produced for you or forced upon you. I unplug frequently. I turn my phone off at night, and that's just people like, oh God, if something happens in 4 decades, there's only a few times that things have happened and I was there. So unplug, and turn yourself on. Telling you, the TV thing is bigger than you think. It's totally bigger than you think. Now, when you're listening to classical music, it does help if you have nice speakers, or if you listen on your phone, if you get a nicer set of headsets. Doesn't have to be Beats or anything like that. Maybe $20, $30 earpieces that really amplify the sound. And there's some really new standalone speakers that come out that are pretty good. But, like I said, you don't have to make the investment. I'm just letting you know that it sounds better. I bought a pair of speakers from Walmart for my computer. 7, 8 years ago. I still use those speakers to the day because I plug my iPhone in and boom, they fill them. I mean, I actually cannot turn them all the way up because it would be too loud. So listen to music and learn to Be still and focus on one thing, because it teaches you how to be still and focus on one thing, which is a great asset when you're trying to build something, because micromanagement and doing all these things is wonderful, but it can be a detriment to your success. This is a fun one, and I do it all the time, especially when I'm walking. Daydream. Formulate movies in your mind about what you want, because what's going on in your mental space is real in your mental space, and many times it will matriculate. I was watching this weekend, and they were talking about the future and science fiction, and how science fiction has induced or helped create reality. So many things that were science fiction in the 20s are real today. So just because you imagine it doesn't mean it doesn't have the capacity to be real. And some of you may be putting out some of these awesome Star Trek science fiction type technology, because this is something else that's happening. Technology has become so advanced that you can take 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of technology or software and create something else without having to know the baseline why it does what it does. That's how technology is coming. So there's so many opportunities out there. But when you daydream, you open your mind to the possibility. I really, really, really want you to fill your mind with as many positive possibilities as you can. I will tell you, recently, a goal that I wrote down about 4 months ago. I woke up this morning and boom, it happened. And it was about 2,000, no, it was 4,000 actually. I wrote it for 15 and it was actually $4,000 off. But as I tell you, having that goal, either you're going to come under or you're going to overshoot. Rarely do you just spot on nail it. Or in my case, I don't nail it. It's either an undershoot or an overshoot. But it gets me so much closer than if I didn't have the goal. And I woke up and I was like, whoa, dang, that happened. Okay. And when you daydream, keep a little journal. I'm really odd that in some ways I have an extremely good memory. It's freaky good that I have actually pissed off girlfriends because I can verbatim say back the argument that happened 2-3 months ago, because my mindset works on intensity of the event. That's what my memory works on. You could tell me something of low intensity today, this morning, and I may have forgotten it by lunch. But if it was an event that was wrapped in a lot of intensity, emotion, drama, I'll remember it for the next 40 years. I mean, in stark clarity. And that's one of the reasons that I have all these Storage Auction stories, because there was so much drama that went on with that stuff. So many things that happened. So it was easy for me to remember it. And I actually remember events from high school in great clarity. So keep a journal, put this stuff down, and call it your dream book. And do not censor yourself. Restrictor plates off. If you want to go to France, put I want to go down to France. If you want to stay in a 5-star hotel, put it on the list. Have the courage and the audacity to daydream it and write it down. If you daydream it and write it down, it gives you a lot of energy for that to happen. If you daydream it, you write it down, you create an action plan, and you take steps, you might be in France in less than 6 months. That's just how powerful the being creative, daydreaming, opening up your mind. Because the thing is, creative is you're creating something. That is what made America great, when we created stuff. So you create your daydreams, create your wishes, create. Daydreaming is a form of mental exercise of practicing a higher belief. Because if you have the courage to daydream it, and you push it a little bit more into a goal, and you push it a little bit more with a strategy, one day you may look up and like, oh, this thing that I daydreamed X amount of time ago is now reality. That is the power of daydreaming. And to complement daydreaming, like I said, I don't really do, I have a whiteboard with my written goals, But I like watching videos of stuff that I want or things that I want to do. I like to see the action and visualize where you want to be and what you want to do. If you want to own a company, and if your idea of owning a company is you're sitting at a desk and you could see the desk with the nameplate with your name on it and it says CEO, or you could see whatever. You're creating this, you're building this, you're a world builder. You could create whatever you want. No restrictor plates. Then you learn how to have more faith in yourself, because there are a lot of people that don't have the courage to dream anymore because it's so painful, because so many dreams did not happen. So they would rather deny themselves the privilege and the pleasure of a nice dream because they can't handle the disappointment of it not happening. I think that's sad. I think that's scary sad, because these people don't understand how the laws of the universe works. So they're not creating anything. They're not putting out anything. They're just existing in the context of someone else's dream. That's what they're doing, and they wonder why they're miserable. When you exist in the context of your dream, it's a different ballgame. I can tell you from personal experience. It's a totally different ballgame, and you can do it. Now, this may alarm some people, and I've mentioned it before, but whenever I feel myself getting stuck, I would go on a meditation binge. Now, I learned transcendental meditation years ago. I don't do it every day. I do it periodically, because writing for me is a form of meditation. Because I noticed every day that I write, I sleep really soundly, like 6 hours, 7 hours, don't wake up, don't even toss and turn, because that's my release. I got that same release from meditation. Now, if you want to learn how to meditate, Google transcendental meditation, Google breathing meditation. There's stuff that you can learn and put into effect right now, today. The first time that I did the transcendental meditation, I passed out. And when I came to, I was groggy, like I was heavily medicated, because that was my first time releasing all of that stress, and it just left my body crumpled. I mean, I was gone. I don't know if you've ever had a really good real massage, a really good, where they're digging in and just kneading out the stress. Frequently, I have fallen asleep during those kind of massages, because it's just like, oh, that's so, it's that type of action, because you're releasing that stress. And when you meditate, you release your creativity. I got this from, and I don't know if you ever heard of it, it's called Reader. I read it like 1991. Yeah, 1991. I was working second shift at Scottish Rite. Dr. Linda Settle would bring in these magazines, and she would share them with the patients, and she used to read Reader. And I read about this guy who went up, and he was a Buddhist monk. Now, he was my kind of monk, because he was a writer, and he worked out with weights. And, he would meditate, and he would write for 3 to 4 hours a day. I didn't really know how powerful that was. This is why you have to go out and do stuff, read stuff, gain knowledge, because that piece of information that I gained in 1991 is helping me today. Because whenever I got stuck, and I didn't put this out during the first book, I'll sit down and meditate for 30 minutes, be ready to go. Because typically when you are a writer and you're stuck, it's fear. It's fear that what you're going to write is going to be crap. It's fear that what you're going to write will not be accepted. It's fear. Trust me on that. People are like, oh, no. It's fear. Because once you bitch slap fear, tame fear, take the restricted plates off, amazing things come out. And it is kind of incredible now that I had this information many years ago, and I'm just really in the last 6-7 years learning how to use it and put it together and connect the dots, because that's why you have to be consistent. You may have some information today. This information may be the information that's in this Creating Your Own Economy podcast that you're really not making a lot of sense out of it. It just seems kind of strange, a little odd, maybe too earthy, maybe too organic. Then 5 years later, bam, it connects. Something else enters your life, and all of a sudden it's like, But if you didn't have the information, You may have 2 or 3 dots, but you can't connect them because you don't have the 3rd or 4th dot. That's what information is. That's why you have to read and really cram a lot of stuff into you. So I highly recommend that you learn to meditate. You can learn from online. There are YouTube videos. Preferably, if you live in a town with a meditation center, go in and talk. Yes, there will be hippies. I'm just letting you know who these people will. They're the nicest people in the world. They will be hippies. They will be in the light. And they believe that, 100% committed to it. And they're good people. I have not met anybody in the meditation center that was bad, evil, or even funky. They were all like, well, just come on in. Well, let's do this. Just really positive energy. And if you are in a funky state or in a funky place, you might need to go visit and hang out with those people and replenish your spirit. Because the big problem with meditation is that people with a very strong religious bent think that they can't meditate, or they're entertaining the devil, or they're allowing evil spirits. Meditation, for me, and I will tell you, my main word that I used for years was focus, because my focus was non-existent. So I would sit there, and I'll give you the process. I would sit down. I would take 5 seconds sometimes, or maybe 30 seconds of deep breaths. Take one finger, place it on your nostril, take an inhale, and breathe out through that nostril. Then you cover that other nostril and repeat the process for 10 cycles, or 15 cycles, or 20 cycles, or 30 cycles. Just keep doing that. And then you start to meditate, and you pick a word. Your word could be love. Your word could be hope. My word was focus. And I would say focus over and over. And if you would go back to some of the earlier things in the Hustler Mindset Project, this is something I talked about, creating intention. And I didn't realize what I was doing, because I was going focus, focus, focus. I was pushing focus in my mind, and I was pushing other stuff out. So my mind became predominated and overcrowded with focus, which is why I was so driven in the storage auction business, because I was really focused on the storage. So you can replace the garbage that's running in your mind with whatever you want. If you want love, you could put love in there. If you want compassion, you could put compassion in there. And then this is a little larger than the creative aspect, because that's how this thing works. All of these things that you do, you're going to get more than one benefit. There's a lot of people, hey, give me the straight skinny, give me point A, point B, point C, so I can get out of here and go stack up a lot of other things on my plate. This is not that kind of course, because I want you to be better. I believe that you can be better, because once you learn these things, it improves your whole life. Because if you do learn to meditate, you will lower your blood pressure, you will increase your health, you will reduce your stress level, and you will open up your creative channel like you would not believe. For me, I believe that is tremendous benefit in many areas versus one. And if you're an efficiency person, wait a minute, I do this one thing, but I get 4, 5, 6, 7 benefits. You're down like 4 flat pancakes. So learn to meditate. Doesn't matter what form, doesn't matter, just do it. I will even give you some guidelines, because like I said, the first time could be heavy if you don't do it 3-4 times a week, or at least, twice a week. Or if you want to do it like I do, I use it as a stress valve. If I'm somewhere kind of stuck, I'll do it. But I get my stress relief from my walks and being in the gym and pushing iron. So I have a lot of different valves here, but meditation could be a really good one. And this is the big one to your developing your creative process. Stop being afraid of failure. Number one dagger in the heart of would-be success. Success is waking up out the bed, stretching his arms, and the dagger's in there of fear. I'm going to kill you before you get outside, because, you might embarrass me. You might say something that people may laugh and point. You might humiliate me. I will say, get over yourself. I'm not going to give you this warm and fuzzy speech that successful is just one step away from success. Failure is often brutal, humiliating, can lead to depression. And I'm going to say these things, and I'm going to still say that you should still press forward, because when you go through these hard times, these hard challenges, and you come out on the other side, or as I like to say, the good side, you're a better person. You're stronger, you're brighter, you're more introspective. There are many people that are trying to go through life unscathed by drama, harm, or bad days. It's not going to happen. You're in a better situation by gaining the tools to deal with those bad days than trying to avoid them. Because this is the funny thing about a day. You could do everything right, and then bam, randomly something comes in. And there's nothing you could do to stop it. But if you have the tools to be prepared to mentally cope with that, you're in a much stronger position. Now, with this fear, and I did a YouTube video, or I will, because it will pop up, because sometimes I do videos days in advance. Fear is something inside of you saying, I don't want to change. And that's really it, because once you get past that and start making those changes, I'll tell you an embarrassing story, because I'm not the most coordinated person in the world. And I went to these ballroom dancing classes, and I was so scared. Sweat was like rolling down my freaking back. And I actually met like 8 people who became Facebook friends. And I literally was like, look, I'm real sorry about what's about to happen. And I was completely off my hustler mindset. I had openly became fear's bitch. I was doing all the wrong things, and I was actually hurting myself. And I look back at that, and I was just like, oh, you went at that the wrong way. And I could tell you, like, I'm human, and this was like 3-4 years ago. And I do that, but I've learned, and this is what I'm talking about, the journey, because if you don't do it right the first time, don't worry about it. It could take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 times, because now if I were to go do that today, I would be totally different, and I would do better, because I had pretty much sabotaged my success. And even with that, the people that were there, we actually went out to lunch. I just met them, and we had a good time. And like I said, there were some good people there. But those are the things, and you have to challenge yourself, and you have to fight that stuff, because now I know when I go back, because I am going back, that it's going to be a totally different experience, because I didn't die. No one ran a newscast saying, with video. Now, today it could be a little different when everyone having a camera phone and an iPhone. It's like you could be the next YouTube blooper. But even with that, I think it's worth stepping forward. But don't be afraid of fear, because that is the number one debilitator that I have seen in these last 4 years of talking to people. It's always fear. It's not money, it's not education, it's not talent, it's fear. What if I fail? What if I do this thing and it doesn't work out? That is the biggest thing that happens. And with that, this is Glendon Cameron. I will see you on the good side. Listen to this podcast at least 6 times and do the exercises. And with that, I really will see you